Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the world's greatest podcast. Today, we have a very special day. The market is melting, it's imploding because we have another president doing some erratic shit. I'm not necessarily for or against. I'm not really a macro expert. What I am, I think, an expert. I can say I'm an expert in this. I'm an expert in spotting world class companies that are very likely to increase free cash flow per share. So I made a fortune in the 2022 tech crash by spotting these companies before the market did and buying them and holding them. And what's happened with these companies is free cash flow per share has exploded and the stock prices have risen very quickly. Palantir was up 17x at some point in time. Spotify was up 6x. Each one of these positions returned my entire portfolio once. And obviously they've corrected now, but still very successful. And so the tariffs do add a lot of uncertainty, but it's a little bit like it's the same kind of uncertainty we had in 2022, which was what's going to happen with inflation, what's going to happen with the consumer. Every single time there's a kind of macro bad news kind of situation, it's always the same in hindsight. Bad companies get wrecked, world-class companies become much, much stronger. They increase their earning power, the stock prices go up, the moats get strengthened, and generally the market rewards these companies disproportionately just because there's not that many great companies on earth. So what's happening now with the tech market is we have a technological revolution that's perpendicular to macro, in that AI is making companies more efficient, both in terms of reducing costs as a percentage of revenue and in terms of enabling them to unlock new initiatives that bring in more revenue, essentially. I think that's just the beginning. The same way that if you look back 10 years in time or even 20, with semiconductors, it didn't really matter that we had financial crises, wars, pandemics. None of that really happened. It mattered. What mattered is whether you identified companies, semiconductor companies with strong technological roadmaps that have basically helped the world satiate the demand for compute, which is only really going up very quickly, continues to do so. I think it's going to, over the next decade or two, I think it's going to exponentiate beyond anyone's imagination. So we have that tech revolution, and there's an asymmetric way to play it, which is you have companies which are, their business essentially comes down to acquiring more subscribers and making more revenue per subscriber. You can think about Spotify, Hims, Duolingo. There's a whole bunch of them that I think are quite extraordinary, but these three are the most extraordinary in my opinion. So what they do is they acquire subscribers, they make more money per subscriber, free cash flow per share goes up. They do that regardless of tariffs, of whatever. It doesn't matter. Inflation, these companies have pricing power. They get incredibly efficient every quarter that goes by. They basically deliver more value per dollar spent on behalf of these customers. So I would say they have a cost advantage and they have pricing power. So the combination of these two things makes them more immune than the rest to tariffs, if it does even apply to them, which I'm not sure tariffs affect, say, Hims, for example, in any way. Hims basically operates with a cost advantage. It's the low-cost alternative for healthcare. So if tariffs do wreck the economy, then that's good because it means more people are going to be seeking these kind of alternatives, and it's going to make the platform grow quicker. But anyways, now the market is throwing the baby with the bathwater, but you have that mental model, which is more subscribers, more revenue per subscriber. Good. Now, every quarter that one of these companies takes a step forward in that direction, they get more data. And more data and highly differentiated data enables them to create AI models that others can't. And so that's kind of the long-term prize for these companies, which is creating AI models that make the whole operation much more efficient, so ultimately allow them to acquire more customers, make more revenue per customer, and then retain them longer, and then enable them to sell that intelligence, that model, to the broader industry. So think about Hims. If they ever get to 100 million customers and they have all these verticals, etc., they have this data set which enables them to train an AI model which would make doctors worldwide so much more efficient. And so none of that is really interrupted by tariffs or whatever retaliation come next, which I think it's quite comical. The whole thing with Canada is a complete shit show. The European supreme leaders, they're all sort of socialist dictators. I think it's going to be fun to watch. Personally, the economy could end up in a bad state. It could happen. But again, as I was saying at the beginning, it comes down to buying companies that are really world class, have pricing power, have a cost advantage, have this incredible ability to deliver more value to customers per dollar spent. And then I'm personally quite fully invested at the moment. So my plan is to do nothing. I might, reallocate to another position if I find something that's more interesting than what I hold now. But I basically made a fortune by going all in 2022 when people lost their minds about stuff that frankly I can't even remember now. I don't know what it is that brought Spotify down to $97. I believe it was, again, the market just throwing the baby out with the bathwater because they thought, inflation's going to be terrible and Spotify is just a music app. How wrong has that been, right? So the way you make a fortune is going all in when you believe you have a company which is very likely to increase free cash flow per share and the market is losing their minds. Honestly, what I think is going to happen, but this is irrelevant, is that at some point the other world leaders are going to cave in and they're going to lower their tariffs, and then this thing is going to be forgotten probably a year or two from now. But regardless, it's always about buying world-class companies. Bad macro makes world-class companies stronger and better. And it's really just this, it's the same game. You have to have the discipline to continue studying companies, to get better at spotting world-class companies, and then don't be emotionally sort of put off by whatever stuff that you can't control, because you can never really control macro. You can't control what world leaders do, and to be frank, they've caused most of the problems that we've seen since 2020. Oftentimes, the reaction to actual problems that from these leaders are 99% of the problem. So, and by the way, just to be clear, I'm not necessarily for or against anyone. It's just mentally, I understand it's something I can't control, and it's something I don't really spend my time thinking about. But world-class CEOs, world-class companies, they always come out stronger. So that's my game plan, and it's probably going to be my game plan for however long I'm alive, because that's literally all you have to do to create wealth in the stock market. So anyways, just wanted to put this video out there to hopefully add some clarity to you guys. Today I'm studying HelloFresh in depth. Today I'm going to be uploading a video on Rocket Lab and AST. So usually what I do is, if I do feel the uncertainty putting me off a little bit emotionally, I just go harder with the research, and then the research gives me clarity. So anyways, guys, stay tuned for the Rocket Lab and AST video. See you soon.